It begins with a structural engineer named John Garrity. He's at work, carefully reviewing architectural plans for a large building project. Later that day, John returns home to his estranged wife Allison and their young son Nathan, who has diabetes and wears an insulin pump, requiring constant monitoring. Despite the tension between John and Allison, they make efforts to support their son together. The news is filled with talk about Clark, a comet that scientists claim will safely pass by Earth. The event is being treated as a rare astronomical spectacle. To mark the occasion, the Garritys host a small gathering with friends and neighbors, planning to watch the comet together as it streaks across the sky. While preparing for the party, John goes out to buy groceries when his phone suddenly receives a presidential emergency alert. The message informs him that he and his family have been selected for emergency relocation to a secure government bunker. The message is brief, official, and alarming. As John drives back home, he notices military vans moving through the streets, confirming that something serious is happening. When John arrives home, the party is already underway, and before he can explain anything to Allison, the guests gather around the television as breaking news interrupts the broadcast. A fragment of the comet had entered Earth's atmosphere and struck the ocean, shaking the ground heavily. The explosion is massive, and the resulting shockwave is felt by him too as he heads out. Panic begins to spread as reporters confirm that Clark is not a single comet, but a massive cluster of fragments. Meanwhile, the presidential alert appears on the television again, now displayed publicly for everyone to see. The message instructs the Garrity family to report immediately to Robbins Air Force Base for transport to the bunkers and are given special QR codes. Realizing the danger, John urges his family to pack only what they need. They make sure to carry Nathan's insulin. The government announces that only selected individuals and families are being evacuated. The reasons are not fully explained, but it becomes clear that selection is based on skills, health, and survival value. People not chosen are left behind, creating instant fear and anger everywhere. The threat is far greater than originally believed. As they leave the house, a neighbor, Deborah, desperately begs them to take her young daughter, Ellie, with them. John knows that Ellie will not be allowed on the plane, and that trying to take her would put his own family at risk. With visible regret, the Garritys leave without her. Approaching the airbase, the family encounters massive traffic jams. Thousands of people are trying to reach the evacuation point, forcing them to leave their car. In this confusion, Nathan unknowingly drops his insulin bag while holding onto his blanket. As they approach, a huge crowd surrounds the base, demanding entry. Armed soldiers struggle to maintain order. The Garritys show their QR codes, allowing them inside, where they're given wristbands for identification. Once they're through the gates, Allison realizes that Nathan's medication is missing. Without insulin, Nathan will not survive long. John immediately rushes back toward the car to retrieve it. While he is gone, Allison mentions Nathan's diabetes to a soldier. They are asked to meet Major Breen, who explains that individuals with serious medical conditions are not permitted on the evacuation flights. Allison pleads, explaining that Nathan has his medication and can survive, but Breen refuses to make an exception. Assuming John has already boarded another plane, Allison tries to contact him, but communication systems are overwhelmed, and she is left waiting with Nathan. John returns with the medication and attempts to board a plane, unaware that Allison and Nathan have been denied entry. A fellow passenger notices the insulin and informs John of the medical restriction. He then realizes his family could have been stopped, so he gets off the plane. At the same time, chaos erupts. The crowd breaks through the gates of the airbase, some armed with guns. Shots are fired, and a fuel hose is dropped, igniting a massive explosion, and the plane is gone. John barely escapes as a fireball consumes the airfield. Allison and Nathan return to the abandoned car, only to find it broken into. Allison leaves a note for John, instructing him to meet them at her father, Dale's house in Lexington, Kentucky. John later finds the note and begins following the route on foot. Allison notices Nathan's low on insulin and takes him into a looted pharmacy in search of insulin. Armed men storm the store and begin shooting. In desperation, Allison pleads for Nathan's life with one of the gunmen, who allows them to leave. Outside, Allison meets Judy and her husband Ralph, who agreed to give them a ride, but only as far as Knoxville, Tennessee. Meanwhile, John moves through a collapsing city filled with looters and frightened civilians. He witnesses more comet fragments burning through the sky. From a rooftop, he briefly manages to contact Allison before the signal cuts out. Allison gives Nathan his insulin in the car. She reveals to Ralph and Judy that her family was selected for evacuation but denied entry. John finds transportation with a truck carrying several people traveling north toward Canada. The driver agrees to drop John off in Lexington, Kentucky. During the ride, John meets a young man named Colin, who shares information he has heard about evacuation planes in Canada that are flying survivors to bunkers in Greenland. Although the bunker locations were classified, rumors have begun spreading among survivors. He tries to convince John to go there, but he says that he has to go look for his family, so Colin tells him to find his family and then come there. At the same time, Ralph quietly forms a plan. He pulls over and attacks Allison, stealing her wristband and kidnapping Nathan in an attempt to pass him off as their own son. Allison, devastated, continues walking alone and trying to stop anyone for help. With John, a passenger named Lucas starts questioning him about his band and becomes hostile after learning that John was selected for evacuation. Lucas begins threatening John and demanding his wristband. As the disagreement aggravates, Lucas and his friend Micah attack John, leading to a violent struggle inside the moving truck. This fight causes the driver to lose control, crashing off the road and killing several passengers, including Colin. Injured and in shock, John defends himself as Lucas continues attacking. John accidentally kills Lucas to stop him. He cannot believe what he has done. In shock and trauma, John leaves the scene and continues alone. The meteors are still crashing into the earth as Allison is walking, but a family in a minivan stops and offers to help her reach the airbase, where she believes Nathan is being taken. Ralph and Judy attempt to pass Nathan off as their own child using Allison's stolen wristband. Nathan tells a soldier that he has been kidnapped, making him intervene and taking Nathan into medical care while arresting Ralph and Judy. Allison arrives moments later and searches for Nathan through several medical tents and runs to hug him when she's finally reunited with him. The doctor meets Allison and tells her that Nathan has received medical help. Allison tells the doctor that they will be leaving for Lexington, so the doctor gives her a week's supply of insulin and tells her she can get on a military bus that's heading there. The following morning, John reaches a quiet neighborhood and breaks into an empty house for food and water. He turns on the television and watches updated news reports. Time is limited, and John has still not found his family. John then steals a car and drives to the home of Allison's father, Dale, in Lexington. Allison calls and gives him their location. John picks up Allison and Nathan, and the family is finally reunited. They get home, and John remembers Colin's words about evacuation flights heading to Greenland. Now, he's determined to set out on one final journey. Allison agrees. John goes to talk to Dale to tell him to join them, but he chooses to stay behind, accepting his fate and encouraging them to go. As they were talking, it's revealed that John had been unfaithful earlier in his marriage during a period of emotional distance. John expresses remorse and admits his mistakes. Allison gets there too and tries to convince her father to join them, but he doesn't agree. Just then a meteor crashes nearby, and they feel the shock wave sweep them off their feet. They run to check on Nathan, and he's okay. The family sits together and watches the news. Scientists now estimate that the largest fragments of Clark will strike Europe the following day, wiping out more than 70% of plant and animal life and killing tens of millions of people. Civilization is on the brink of collapse. The Garritys leave in Dale's truck and drive north toward Canada. They're caught in a jam. Suddenly, a radio broadcast warns of molten debris entering the atmosphere. And just moments later, fireballs start raining down on the highway, destroying vehicles and killing people instantly. John pulls over and leads Allison and Nathan beneath an overpass for shelter, all while helping a trapped stranger escape his burning car before the debris storm passes. After the chaos subsides, the family continues driving. They arrive at a Canadian airfield, just as a plane is preparing to take off. John blocks the runway with the truck, forcing the pilot to stop. Although the pilot explains that the plane is full and cannot take more passengers, John begs him to take Allison and Nathan, offering to stay behind. Allison refuses and insists that they remain together. Seeing their determination and Nathan's condition, the pilot agrees to take all three of them. The plane takes off and heads toward Greenland. Just as they are approaching the coast, a comet fragment strikes nearby, sending a powerful shockwave that causes the plane to crash. The pilots are killed, but before dying, one gestures toward another landing aircraft in the distance, indicating the bunker's location. John leads Allison, Nathan, and the surviving passengers across the landscape toward the airbase. They see soldiers who guide them underground just as the final and the largest fragments of Clark is about to hit Earth in minutes. The impact occurs, but the Garrity family holds each other, bearing everything together. The ground shakes violently. Alarms sound. Then, slowly, everything goes silent. 9 months later, radio contact is re-established between bunkers around the world, including stations in Sydney, New Delhi, and Paris. The smoke and ash levels outside have dropped, and the atmosphere has begun to clear, and they can finally see the sun. The survivors are finally allowed to step outside. John, Allison, and Nathan emerge from the bunker and look out at the changed world. The land is scarred, but signs of life remain. Birds fly overhead, signaling that Earth is beginning to recover. The Garrities stand together, having survived the end of the world as AF. Emily. Thank you, guys, for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more cool recaps. Comment below and tell me which survival or disaster movie you want next. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next one. Bye.